Hello, 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 everybody. I'm making sure that there is audio so I don't get shouted at. What a wonderful, wonderful day, because it's a role-playing day. And of course, I am joined by our fourth and final player for our playthrough of Dragonlance, Shadow of the Dragon Queen, Lou. How nice to have you. Thank you for joining me this evening.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so who are you, Lou? Tell us who you are.
Well, hi, I'm Lou Fryer. I am a writer and an editor. I do a lot of things predominantly for Nord Games and for other edit and do bits and bobs for other freelance TTRPG folks. Um, and I occasionally pretend to have social media presence. Most of the time, I don't. But yeah, that you can find me in different places on the internet, and most of the time you can find me wrapped in a blanket on my sofa, putting commas into things and sighing when I have to take U's out of words to put them into American English, which breaks my heart a little bit every single time.
Now, Lou, you've got a Kickstarter that you are part of, and I'm sharing the link there in chat for everybody. Tell us a little bit about that Kickstarter.
So it's a Nord Games Kickstarter that is about to launch at the end of January. It is for the Oracle character generator. Some of your viewers might have seen we did the Oracle story generator previously. So this is the follow-up card deck to that. I've edited all the card content, and I've enjoyed kind of making little characters in my head for it as well, which has been really cool. So that's going up on Kickstarter at the end of the month. And if you click on the link that Guy's putting in the chat, then you can be notified on launch.
There you go. Super exciting. And then you've got a podcast coming up, but maybe we should chat about that closer to the time when it's going live. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to talk about it when it's going live, but I have been teasing to my 32 Instagram followers and 65 Twitter followers about the launch date being announced today, so I can exclusively on the stream this evening announce that our actual play podcast of Dice and Them is going live on the 6th of February. So get those follows going on social, please. I'd love to have more than 32 and 65.
Link is shared in
so
chat.
that you can find out when we're going live. Well, we are going live on the 6th of February, but you'll see that you'll get the link to download it in all the places you get your podcasts. There's some good folks on it, and hopefully it'll make you giggle. We don't take it massively seriously. So yeah.
As opposed to this show where we do take it very, very seriously.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to a break from my
absolutely
podcast idiocy for some serious proper role playing.
Okay, fantastic. Now, before we jump into it, I have been asking folks who are on discord.gg/greatgm to leave their quote for the imagery that has been made, that I make after each episode. And the image that was asked for was from episode 2, where a certain Kendar mage decided that it would be better to fly and attack a giant, very well-muscled, well-built draconian than it would be to use magic, because that's just how they roll. And so the comment that really kind of struck me, all puns intended, as being the most appropriate was from the Discord user Neardor, and the comment was, "Cardinal kick!" That's a cardinal kick by a Kenda. So there you go. Well done to that one. And after today's show, the next image will be posted up on Discord for you to leave your comments on, and to be remembered of the craziness that happened in last week's episode. Right. So there we go. Finally, and last but not least, Lou, would you tell us whom you are playing?
Well, this evening I'm going to be playing Mrs. Marjorie Thornett. She is an older woman for the city of Calaman, and she has been, for the last couple of years, in the limited free time that she has, been doing a correspondence course with the Mages of High Sorcery. That's a good sign. It's a good sign when you're already got your face on your hand. Yeah, so she's excited. She quite enjoys study, so it'll be nice to have a qualification and feel like she's making progress. She's excited.
She is excited indeed.
She's not an excitable person. You might not be able to tell.
She's one of those people where
on the inside.
Does she laugh on the inside as well?
Almost certainly, yeah. If that.
We're
gonna have a great time with her.
Yeah. All right. And then, folks, the final 2 announcements before Marjorie Thornett gets to go and see how her life changes forever or stays exactly the same, is that the Tuesday afternoon live shows will commence again from next week. That's 5 p.m. GMT, which is 8-ish or 9-ish Pacific time. Those are live on discord.gg/greatgm. And those pick up from next week. So go cast your vote for the topic of the week. That'll be on the YouTube community tab here on the YouTube channel. And then the other thing that I was going to say, which is now dribbled out of my head, is that, yes, all 4 players will join me next week, Thursday, same time, same place, for the first of the gigantic games of playthrough. And next week, Monday, sees me telling you what I'm planning for Adventure 1. That's of the Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen book. They've got Adventure 1 listed out. It's going to take us a couple sessions to play through because it's packed full of cool and wonderful stuff. I will be doing a video on Monday which talks about how I'm taking that and trying to make sure that it works for me and that I've got all of the interesting things in there. So my players certainly are not allowed to watch that video.
We're not allowed to just study that video on Monday, no?
You could, but the moment I detect that it's like, hey, you kind of anticipated what was coming up, I'll change it up. I'll drop a mountain on you. And that's canon, because that's actually something that happened within the Dragonlance campaign setting. Literally, they dropped a mountain on an entire continent. Anyway, that's it. Those are the announcements. Let's get on with it. And so, we find ourselves in a very specific place. Now, I also have to point out, folks, this is the very first time that I am doing this on a live stream. I am trying to run the book as close to it as written as possible. So you're going to have to bear with me here as I have this to start, not written by me, written by the book. The walled city of Calamoran rises in the distance, spreading across the southern shore of a wide bay. Ships sail to and from the city's walled harbour, their courses lit by a pair of towering beacons. On the shore ahead, where the Vinegard River meets Calaman Bay, there are piers and jetties filled with workers heaving and hoeing in the very early light of pre-dawn. Day is just beginning. And in particular, for Elderwoman Thornett, your day started a good half hour ago with a frantic knocking at your personal home door as a member, a squire, I should say, from the Council of Calaman has frantically had a message for you that you have been summoned to the council chambers for an emergency meeting of the council. How does Marjorie leave for this emergency meeting?
She's a pretty meticulous and organized person, so I think she probably has got like a little end table by her front door that has like her bag, her packed lunch, her wet weather gear, her, everything else all kind of lined up so she can be like, right, that's going in there, that's going in there. Notebook, house keys, almost like a little kind of physical checklist of things that she needs before she goes out. So she kind of tuts and rolls her eyes and then packs up and off she goes.
Very well. The page does not need to guide you to the colossal castle that is Calamaran Castle, which is on top of a rather large... Mesa would be the wrong word, but it is a large mound of cliff faces and exposed rock that positions it slightly above the city. But the structure itself is a massive constellation of circular towers, all united by defensive walls. This is an ancient citadel from before the time of the Great Cataclysm, 350 years ago, constructed by people far more advanced, perhaps, in architecture than currently are available. Nonetheless, you have made your way into the grand structure and wound your way up several flights of very large, very ostentatious marble steps, and find yourself emerging into the main corridor directly attached to the council chamber, when stepping out of the shadows is a young, very well-dressed woman. She has quite dark brown skin and shocking yellow hair. She steps forward and she says, "Mrs. Thornett?"
Yes, speaking. Can I help you?
You don't know me, but I've been sent by Mr. Thornett. My name is Kempker.
Sorry, would you repeat that? Your name is
Kempker.
Kempker, right.
Yes.
One of those. Yes. What's the message?
The message is merely that Mr. Thornett believes that what you are about to learn should be taken with a pinch of salt, and that perhaps it should be downplayed, just for the moment, as being insignificant.
Is that a particular request of Mr. Thornett's, or is
a recommendation, not a requirement?
Of course. Yes, well, I will certainly take Mr. Thornett's recommendation to heart, you can assure him. And is he determined to be cryptic? No other clues beforehand, so that I might be more prepared?
Mr. Thornett has the information that he has, and he has given me the information that I have now given to you.
Of course.
If there was more, I would provide it.
Very well. I thank you for your message.
Go ahead and give me a perception check as you walk past her.
I shall.
Oh, beautiful. What a great role to start, unlike some other players I know.
She is very wary. She's got her eyes everywhere.
Absolutely. This early morning nonsense certainly has her on her toes. As you walk away, Kempker's eyes seem to flash a strange orangey yellow fire, or perhaps sand? You're not sure. And suddenly she's wiping her eyes as if she's just waking up, and she suddenly looks around as if she doesn't know where the hell she is, and looks at you, sheepishly smiles at you, and then very quietly makes her way down the staircase.
Yes, thank you, Kempker. That'll be all.
You continue on to the council chambers. Your boots click across the very polished marble floors. The marble floors, of course, decorated in yellow and blue, as is the colours of Calamaran, the great city that is controlled ostensibly in the province of the Solomnic Knights. It is their largest trading port this side of the capital. You get to the great wooden doors that guard the council chamber. The doors are inscribed with rather ornate silver and topaz, perhaps, or probably some cheaper gemstone, as a matter of fact, with great big scenes of the two huge lighthouses, or beacons, as they're called, that protect the bay. And the flames are described in those semi-precious stones, whilst the actual structures are carved with the silver inlay. And with a light touch, the doors immediately swing open. And as you step inside, you are immediately awash with the sound of debate. A lot of debate. The chamber itself, as large and as big as it is, stretches ahead of you. And you can see, and I'm just going to open up your view here, you can see the entire council are present. Yes, the entire council are present, seated at the table. I don't know why it's not... there we go. The entire council are seated at this table. There is this magnificent view out of the north of the chamber, which is a beautiful curved frontage with large glass windows looking out over Calamaran Bay. And from this vantage point, you can see all of the ships coming and going and that sort of thing. 2 huge statues, as they do all over the city, loom over this entire space. And there is something odd on a table underneath a white cloth at the far end of the chamber, which normally is not there. However, your attention is immediately drawn back to the primary table where everyone is seated. You can see Governor Miat with his blonde hair all braided up, although slightly imperfectly braided. There is old Kobe, head of the... I can never remember this. Head of the dock Workers Guild. He is already asleep. And next to him is Swift. She is violently debating with Jalan. Swift is the elder woman who took over from her husband, and she's head of cartography, or the Cartographers Guild, and also a member of the council. She is arguing with Jalan. Jalan, of course, represents the shipbuilders of Calaman. I don't know what's happening, sorry. And arguing over both of them is Aquanti, who is the mistress of the Stonemasons Guild. And they're all busy arguing backwards and forwards, left, right, and centre. And sitting at the close end of the table, closest to you, is a familiar, rather bald head, the elvish teacher, Shalantawin. She has been dealing with your correspondence course, and she was the one you originally convinced to allow you to join the Mages of High Sorcery via correspondence in the first place. Why she took an interest in you is uncertain, but she certainly seems to have been your advocate. She is sitting with her fingers steepled, quietly listening to the giant debate which is raging. The debate is very clear. They are not happy with the presence of Shalantawin here. They're not happy with a mage being part of the council. Aquantia is claiming that you're going to have mind-reading powers, and as a result, fishes are going to suddenly dominate the entire debate, and how is it going to be fair? Swift is saying that, well, without the fishes, the entire enterprise closes down, and Calamaran will not survive, will starve, quite literally. Whereas Jalan is arguing that having a mage could be useful in terms of interrogating criminals and things during legal proceedings, and so on and so forth. Miat, in his usual fashion, is just sitting quietly, letting the debate rage. What do you do as you have now arrived? Do you approach the table, or do you from the door?
I from the door.
Let me just see. How many of the councilmen... Wow. Okay. So... 2 heads turn to look at you. And that is Miat. He looks up and gives you a soft, warm smile that he has always given you. He gives it to most people. It's nothing special. Then Swift snaps her head around and looks at you and gives you that odd kind of neurotic smile that somehow changes into a grimace, and her eyes immediately return back to the bald elf that worries her. So whilst Aquanti and Jalan are still arguing with one another in very loud tones.
I will a little louder and longer.
Eventually,
and quite pointedly close the door behind me.
Aha, that gets Aquanti and Jalan to turn and look in your direction. And immediately Aquanti says, "There, you see? Already she is starting to throw her weight around. This is not acceptable."
Well, I didn't think it was acceptable for members of this council to start meetings before all members were present. What other protocols are we going to be throwing out today, Councilman Aquanti?
Well, that shuts her up quite quickly, because you are absolutely correct. Miat stands up. Do you approach and take your seat?
Yep.
All right.
And I will take my time.
Oh, right.
I will walk.
It is.
I will walk calmly, like I walk in any time. Put my bag down. Take out my notebook. And my quill, and just look like I'm ready to start the meeting, like any other day.
Like any other day. Well, they all watch with Aquanti sort of huffing and puffing and not knowing really what to do. And Swift kind of leans over and pokes Kobe with a long quill pen. That kind of gets him to grunt and wake up. Miat, still standing, says, "You are quite right. This should not have been discussed without your immediate presence. But I feel it is important to point out that this meeting was not here to discuss whether or not Elderwoman Thornett was entitled or not entitled to pursue the line of magical education. The council is quite clear on this matter. There is no restriction on whatever occupation you may wish to pursue. This is entirely up to you. But as Elderwoman Aquanti did point out, we would hope that there would be no use of magic to interfere in the operations of the council. But I do not think this will be a problem. Miss Thornett?"
I mean, first of all, I accept your apology and acknowledge your I suppose I acknowledge your acceptance of my rights, and as you know, I was elected to this council far before I was elected into this building, into this government, before my mage training began, and so you are quite right in saying that it has nothing to do with this business, and perhaps we could move on to what the business is, and perhaps I could be of the use and merit that I was elected for.
Precisely. We are honored by the presence of a Mage of the High Sorcery. Shalantawin has made her presence known to us. It is precipitous timing, considering that we have also received an urgent message from a very trusted individual. Before they give their demonstration, I feel that I should point out that these individuals, for those of you who are unfamiliar with them, Ispin Green Shield has been an operative in this area for many years. My father even recalls working with Ispin when he was younger. Generally, these individuals are reliable. His companions are members of the Solemnia Knights and have impeccable records, so what they tell us I believe to be true. It is incredibly alarming. So before we get to matters at hand, is there any or are there any reports from any sector of unusual activities, anything out of the ordinary taking place? If there are, please bring them forward now. It doesn't matter how insignificant they might be. Is there anything in the last year or so that has come to anyone's attention that may not have seemed important at the time?
I suppose in the interests of transparency, though, as you previously said, I think it is of very little consequence to Calaman as a whole. But in the interests of the council knowing everything and everyone being upfront about things, I should probably let you know of some reports, some of the local fisher community.
Please, what are these reports?
Of course, none of these accounts have been properly verified, and the sources that they come from are in varying degrees of trustworthiness, but there have been some unusual catches in the nets, allegedly, by some of the fishermen working in Calaman Bay. I really think that it's of little consequence that the matter is being looked into by my department, but just a couple of odd things just to make you aware before any great rumours start circulating from unfounded sources.
Shalantawin raises her hand. If I might, could you elaborate on these unusual occurrences?
Well, let me have a look. I'm going to take out my notebook. Two of them were strange, scaly creatures, allegedly with wings, though various biological professors and experts can't seem to find a creature of that kind of description anywhere that they've got. And unfortunately, a sea elf who had claw marks. The department just suspects that there was an altercation of some kind, perhaps a dog attack, and the body was put into the bay to cover it up. So investigations are ongoing, but nothing overly suspicious or panic-inducing, we believe.
Go ahead and give me an insight check as you mention the scaly winged creatures.
Okay. $11. Insightful-ish.
Shalantawin, her eyebrow raises slightly at the mention of the two scaly creatures, but that's about it. Thank you very much, says Miat. Swift then looks across at everybody, and she raises up her sort of hand to contribute, and the governor hands it over to her. Obviously the Cartographers Guild, we don't really get reports in so much as things, but we have noticed a rather well, I wouldn't say it's odd. I would just say that there have been quite a few. I mean, that's to say there's been an increase in the amount of applications for the permissions to excavate certain sites, primarily to the north of Calamaran Bay and the Vinegard River. But as I said, it could simply be some sort of craze that's going around and has excited the imagination of the public. It most likely will die down once people discover that they're really just going to be finding, ancient ruins that have been completely decimated during the cataclysmic event and have very little valuable items left inside them. But that's what we've noticed. But like I said, it's not like we've been finding dead bodies in the bay. Yes.
Are we likely to be overrun with amateur archaeologists?
We haven't seen any significant impact on. There have been some purchases over and above the normal wagons, pickaxes, shovels, and cartographic maps, primarily of the wastelands. But of course, as is pointed out, those maps are highly inaccurate given to the tremendous and frequent flooding of that entire area. So I suspect that you might actually find that, unfortunately, you may actually end up with more bodies in the bay, because most of the floodwaters, obviously, they drain into the Vingard and then into the bay itself, because of the shape of the coastline, of course, and the prevailing currents, which have a propensity to make their way into the actual bay itself. And Miat says, thank you, Elderwoman Swift. We understand the geography is important, but
it
yes.
seems an injection of capital and people buying things in the town will inject money into the economy, and a few extra bodies in the bay will inject food into the local water, into the waterways for some of the larger predatory fishes. Doesn't seem anything that's going to be overly worrying.
I agree, says Kobe from his sort of reclined position. This is nothing. Miat, you got us all out of bed very, very early. I have dozens of ships to load cargo with. Is there a point to this meeting other than minor events of value or not? Miat says, you are quite right. He lifts a small silver bell on the side of the desk and he rings it. And stepping in through the doorway are three figures that one fairly elderly human male, one middle-aged human female, and one undetermined age female dwarf come striding in, and they walk past all of you until they reach the far end of the chamber to the north. And that is where they form a neat line. Yes.
I was just going to say, without trying to completely shoot myself in the foot, I want to see if I can jump on the bandwagon of my phenomenal perception check.
Yes.
And see if I can see anything else, anything of note about them.
Yes, as a matter of fact, you can. So there is a Ispin Greenshield. He walks with the vigor of a 20-year-old, even though he looks as if he's in his 70s. He has a lot of green about his person, but you're not sure if he's a mage. He does have a cowl that denotes that he is a mage, but he also has a rather large green circular shield strapped to his back. Cudgel, a very stout dwarf, looks to be smirking about something. You're not entirely sure what. Whereas Becklin is a knight of the Solomnia order. She wears her armor quite proudly, although her face does seem to wear a few extra years of burden or perhaps doubt, which now seems to follow with her as she moves through. You also notice that as Ispin walks past the mage from the tower, Shalantawin, he gives her a wink, and she very decidedly blushes as he walks past.
Marjorie makes a note in her journal, in her notebook.
Thank you,
makes a lot of notes.
Council, for seeing us, says Ispin. They all take position around the table, which has been set up in the top of the chamber, the one with the spectacular view. I would ask that you all gather around so that you might see what we have to present to you. If you find the aroma of cloves to be repugnant, I would suggest you keep your distance. We felt that pouring clove oil on what we found would assist in this process. Do you gather
I grew up
in
a fishery. There is no stench that my nose cannot take.
All right. So you kind of gather around, and I'm just going to bring a little light across because it's quite dark there. So there's a candle brought over to this table where you can see a gloved hand hanging out from underneath this white sheet. And Ispin continues, so what we have here, we discovered about 3 miles south of Calamaran Bay. Let me see if anyone knows first what it is. And with a flourish, he pulls back the sheet to reveal this very degraded, rotting corpse. It's wearing quite badly or crudely made plate armor. It does reek from here to high heaven, even though it's had clove oil poured all over it. Its head is the unusual part. The skin has mostly all been eaten away, but the head is definitely a skull with horns. It almost looks like an old dragon head of some kind. Just obviously smaller than the fairy tales would have one recount of this. I'm just going to pop in on this area a little bit more for you so you can see the corpse a bit more. Does anyone know what this is?
They want to see more corpses.
Yeah, everyone wants to see corpses.
Yeah.
Is anyone familiar with this creature?
Let's find out if Marjorie is.
You can give me an Arcana check.
Okay.
14. Your initial instinct would be that perhaps it might be a dragonborn, one of those creatures that have arrived periodically on this world, carried aboard these bizarre trading ships called spelljammers. They're not very frequent, though. Also, the head doesn't seem right, and you don't recall them having large wings, which this one does have bits of hanging around the body and slightly off the table. Otherwise, you're not familiar with it at all. Everybody sort of looks around sheepishly. Aquanti looks forward. It is obviously a fake. That is what it is. A crude fake, a construction. The body of a man and the head of a goat. There is nothing to be seen here.
Can I make well, I suppose it would be either an insight check on her or a perception check around the table, or both, to see what people's reactions were when it came off. Anybody who's trying to stifle surprise or look genuinely surprised, or
insight. Perfect.
been binging The Traitors recently, so I'm very used to people sitting around a table trying to guess who's lying.
Who is it? Is anyone lying?
I mean, I've got 2 episodes left, so no spoilers in chats. Am I doing insight?
Insight,
Yes,
if you
we're playing
please.
Dungeons and Dragons.
That's right.
At
On a
the 13.
Shalantawin seemed to look at the corpse and then look very pointedly at Ispin, as if she knows what it is, but as if she's almost challenging Ispin to tell her that it's a fake. Kobe barely looked at it.
That's her second weird look.
Yeah, Kobe barely looked at it at all, but Kobe barely looks at anything. Stonemasons, unless it's literally 1,000 tons, they generally don't care. Jalan didn't really pay it too much attention other than to cover up his nose. Aquanti just... she's doing what she always does, making noise to try and get people to focus on her rather than on what's actually happening. And Swift was looking at his boots more than anything else, and she seemed to see something there that made her look closer, if that makes sense.
Deeply interested in the floor.
Yeah, correct.
I mean, it seems to me that Mistress Chalante has probably got the gist of it. It seems like it's likely to be some sort of prank. Unless anybody else has any other theories, it doesn't seem a natural thing unless it was some sort of odd sorcerers or alchemists project. That it seems like whatever it was failed. I wouldn't make too big a thing of it.
At that comment, Ispin smiles and looks at the old elf. She smiles and she looks at you. That is a very interesting observation, young Mrs. Thornett. I think you are quite right. I think this may be a failed creature, perhaps half-formed, but certainly magic seems to have been involved. What else can you tell us, Marjorie? She says, sort of glaring or looking at you. Sort of, you get the sense that she's testing you to see what else you've come up with.
Oh dear. Do I want to pass her test or listen to Mr. Thornett? Well, let's see what else I do know.
Right. Well, you know Quantia is grandstanding and knows nothing.
Yes.
Jalan didn't seem to know anything. Governor Miat, just looked repulsed by the whole thing and then slightly worried, as he always does. Swift was the only one who seemed to have any other kind of reaction to it.
So there's, I meant there's nothing else that can be sort of gleaned from immediately what's in front of me.
The armor looks crude and badly made, but that doesn't mean anything specifically to you. Yeah.
Okay. Or whatever poor wretch it was, or is more like. It seems like it was a unfortunate type. Its armor, it's crude. If it was regarded as or intended to be some sort of danger or weapon, you'd have thought it would have been slightly better outfitted. I should not give it too much attention. I hardly think that this is going to affect the trawlermen's halls in the bay, which is my main responsibility in terms of the economy of this city.
The old elf looks at you and she says, "What do you think the effect on the people of Calamaran will be?"
There will be none at all. I see no reason that they should know at all. And if in the same way that other counselors at this table have brought news that is most likely rumor and gossip, things spread and filter into the populace like oil through water and then disappear down the drains almost as quickly. There are several more odd things happening in Calaman than this that are far more noteworthy. People are far more likely to talk about their neighbours' love lives than any sort of strange creatures. People across their backyards are possibly as strange to them as that, and far more likely to affect their own lives.
She nods. Swift steps forward. I can tell you where this thing has come from. You see the mud that is imprinted upon his boots. I know you said you found him on the southern shore of Calaman Bay, but I'm assuming you found him at Liar's Point. I'm guessing probably within a mile or so of there. Probably. I'm wrong. I'm not. I'm wrong. Ispin says, you are certainly quite right. We were travelling through Liar's Point earlier on. This is where we found him. She nods. I thought as much. This creature has come from Quelmish. The mud is absolutely undeniable, and how it got from Quelmish to Liar's Point, it must. I have no. If it was in the bay, it would have washed off. So presumably these things could fly, I guess, or take a boat, I guess, or maybe neither of those two things, or
put in a sack and transported, put on the back of a wagon. Neither of those things leave footprints. We're very much speculating, councilwoman.
Yes, I am. I am about how it got to Liar's Point. But I know that particular clay comes only from Quelmish and its surrounding areas. That's the deep clay on the inside of the boot. Notice it gets stuck in there because it's quite dark, quite specifically dark. But the lighter clay comes from Liar's Point, which I know a lot of potters generally tend to use some of that clay because it fires up quite nicely and quite creamily white in its color. So we can not speculate on its journey, but we know for fact that those boots have travelled from Quelmish to Liar's Point. That I can tell you. Absolutely, I can. That is what I can tell you. Yes.
Well, your geographical pinpointing never ceases to amaze this council, and so of course you will be able to tell us the exact distance between Quelmish and Liar's Point.
Yes, absolutely, of course. So if memory serves me, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's about 70 or 80 miles, as the crow flies, of course, bear in mind, as the crow flies, and it depends on what part of Quelmish it might have been in. If it was in southern Quelmish, then that would only be a distance of 35 or 40 miles, but that's across the bay, of course, straight across the bay. Assuming that they went around, as you conjectured, well, then it could easily be 100 or 150 miles, depending on what particular routes they took, but... Yes, so there you are. That's what they know. Well, I mean, that's what we know, and. And
is this clay fresh? Would we know how quickly they could have travelled and when it might have got onto those boots?
Do you mind? She says to Ispin as she steps forward with her finger outstretched towards the clay on the boots. He doesn't mind. And so that's exactly what she does. She sort of scrapes at it with the tip of her fingernail, and bits of clay kind of crumble off and that sort of thing. Oh, interesting. Very, 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 very interesting. Okay, well, I can tell you this. It didn't the Quelmish clay is still a little bit moist, but the Liar's Point is not. It is dried up, and I assume what that means. What does that mean? If the clay on top is dry, the clay underneath is still wet. It's not a very slow drying clay, I must admit. Well, it means. No, I don't know what it means actually. The outer clay is dried, the inner clay is still moist. She sort of looks to you, seeing you're the only one who's really engaging with her. Mean anything to you?
Perhaps something was... I was going to say perhaps something was added after the fact, but that would be the other way around.
Yes, that would be the... Oh!
Unless things... No, please.
Well, remember the distances. The shortest distance would be 40 miles if they covered it straight.
Across
rather than 150 if they went around. Yes. So perhaps that might give us some more insight and less... what was that word that you... conjecture. So they travelled quite quickly from Quelmish to Liar's Point. And that's why the clay on the outside is dry and the clay on the inside is still moist. It didn't have time to dry before it got caked.
On the outside would have been exposed to sunlight, dry air.
Exactly. Okay, well, so Miette steps forward. This is all very interesting and illuminating, but unless, Mr. Ispin, you have something of value for us, as Elderwoman Thornett has pointed out, it has very little significance to us and certainly does not warrant us waiting and waking at this time of day, surely. Ispin nods. I just wanted to make sure the council knew what was happening around this area and to be more vigilant about the goings-on. Perhaps, and he sort of looks to you, the fishermen might be instructed to keep their eyes open for more unusual goings-on.
I can assure you that the fishers of Calaman have their eyes open at all times and will directly report to me if anything out of the ordinary happens.
Right, good. Well, that makes sense. Everybody notices the boot of this creature twitch on the table. Cudgel immediately steps forward. I'm guessing that you moved the boot, Elderwoman Swift? Swift was nowhere near the boot when it twitched.
Mistress Shalantuan?
Shalantuan steps back. Her eyes glaze over, and you see that the palm of her hand starts to glow faintly with a sort of bluish energy. That, as she does show, she says, I believe this creature is... Oh no, she says. And as she says that, the creature just sort of sits bolt upright in its undead state and snarls at everybody. Which takes us into initiative.
Oh, marvellous.
So if you roll initiative, if you please.
I can do that. I have an excellent initiative bonus.
Uh-huh. A 9! That's spectacular. All right. So, with a 9...
Basically an admin roll. Not a huge amount of dexterity.
Yes. The creature gets to act first. This rather unusual thing. Not the creature, I'm telling a lie. What happens is, as everybody is focused on this creature, which has suddenly sat up and is looking around with this, it looks like a horse's head or a dragonesque like head, but the meat is rotting off of the bone and that sort of thing. It's very mechanical in the way that it's moving around. From the window, there is this smash of glass, and Marjorie, you would swear that you saw wings on the creature that rolls in through the window. But as it lands, the wings seem to fold up behind its back, and it simply steps forward into the chamber on the broken glass and declares, "You have what is ours. Return it or die." That's what he says. Becklin immediately steps forward and says, "Everyone stay back. I'll sort our guest here." That's what she does. She does not realize that the undead creature behind her sees her as a potential target of sorts and snaps out with its jaws at her back, getting a natural 1. Woo-hoo! It completely misses, which means that Becklin doesn't even know that it sort of snapped at her. Immediately, there's another smash, and another creature sails in through the glass window, landing. This one, unfortunately, is not so kind as the other one, and just lobs a very large, very, very crude javelin directly at Becklin, but it bounces. Oh no, does it? Yes, it does. It bounces off of her sort of breastplate with a loud shriek and a clatter. Next up is Cudgel, and Cudgel immediately rushes forward to try and engage one of these creatures to start battling away. You're up next, Marjorie. What are you doing?
Marjorie's going to move east round the back of is that Jalan and Aquanti?
Yes.
Round the side of the table and address the creature that came in first that spoke to the room.
All right.
And say, visitors must sign in with reception, and there are forms if you have lost some property. Now, I would appreciate it if you would sit down. And as she says, sit down, she casts Eldritch Blast.
Oh, wow. Okay. Make your attack. Sit down, you bad
stern words.
And on a 17, your blast slams into the creature that came through first. It definitely is hit. Do your damage.
Oh. That was going to be an 8, and then it hit the side of my screen.
Yeah, I hate the way that
Darn
happens.
Physics.
Simulated physics, yeah. All right, so your blast sails out towards the creature and hits, but with not nearly as much impact as you would like. What is the color of your Eldritch Blast, or how does it look?
Feel free, oh wise and benevolent DM, but I see it as being largely colorless. I see it as almost like a cone, well, not a cone, like a line of force. So it's literally like a blast, like you've been shot with a leaf blower, rather than a crackle of lightning. Though potentially when she does say sit down, I think you might get sort of vaguely Galadriel being tested by the ring kind of slight lighting effect. But
yes, very intimidating. Very intimidating.
Why not? It's my spell.
So Swift immediately runs underneath the table and disappears. Miat backs away towards one of the larger statues. Kobe tries to move forward, but Shalantawin kind of stops him. Jalan just runs. He does not care. He runs south. Aquanti, seeing your impressive display and whatever it is that you do, she actually moves forward towards them, and she's waving her hands in the air saying, stop, we must stop this. We do not know these are hostile creatures here. This may be a mistaken identity, is what she's saying, but also making herself big and loud and very visible, which is what Aquanti has done for years. Isbin steps forward, and he's actually incommoded by Aquanti, who he was going to try and attack the one creature, but she's just in the way. Marjorie, as you are standing there, unfortunately, from the window nearest to you, another one of these weird creatures bursts in, showering everyone in glass. And
I don't know if it makes a difference, but I did say I'd moved up to behind where Aquanti and Jalan were. So
yes, so they were standing. They were standing here.
Yes.
You want to be slightly closer?
I meant that I moved sort of round the table so that I was looking. So I'd kind of gone so I could get a line of blast there? From. You can't see where I'm pointing. Why am I pointing, guy? Don't know. Almost like kind of on the top right corner of the table.
There.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So this creature has burst in through the window and is snarling and shrieking, and it is also going to... No, it's not. Wait, wrong character. Yes, he also throws a javelin at Miat, completely misses as the javelin goes wide. Then we are next up. Another one bursts in through this window, and another one bursts in through this window, as it seems to be a full-on assault that is taking place. Meanwhile, this character, the one that arrived first, steps forward, and my dice are rolling terribly tonight. You are witnessing useless monsters here, which is what we want. Nice. Except that he cuts Aquanti down. She gets hit quite badly, and she just crumples like a leaf to the ground as he deals 7 damage to her. Becklin is up next, and Becklin steps in front of Aquanti, bends and starts to... It looks as if she's laying her hands upon Aquanti. But from your position, Marjorie, you can see she's also pulling from her pouch the small vial of red liquid. The creature on the table is active and flailing around. So there is Cudgel, Becklin, Ispin, Marjorie, Shalantawin, and Kobe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So clockwise from Kobe, who is it going to attack? And it is going to attack number 3, which is Cudgel. So it leaps forward with its jaws wide open, trying to bite into Cudgel, and it does, dealing a significant amount of damage, unfortunately. So that's 5.
Sorry, Guy, you were doing bad rolls, remember? That's what we were doing.
Bad rolls.
You appear to have stopped that, and I don't really know why.
I don't know what's going on here. It's like, we've got to ramp it up, right, so
this
thing sort of bites into Cudgel quite badly, and so that's what it's doing there. It is then these guys' turns. And so Cudgel is engaged once again with one of these creatures. As they move in, Ispin is engaged. One of them comes running up behind you, Marjorie, unfortunately. And he swings... What has he got here? He has got a longsword. He swings that at you. Oh, and gets a 23 to hit.
Yeah, that'll do it.
That'll do it. It swipes at you and clips you for a grand total of 5 damage.
Ouch.
Yeah. Absolutely. Ouch. He swings again because they get to make 2 attacks. So on the backhand, he brings his blade back. What is this, D&D Beyond? It's like, nope.
Lovely. Love that for me.
Yep. Oh, so lucky. 4 points of damage, leaving you on 1 hit point.
Yes, it does.
He sort of swipes across your back, brings the blade around, and then swipes up across your front as he makes his horrific attacks. Cudgel is up next. Cudgel is engaged with this creature here, and that brings us to you, Marjorie. What are you doing?
I am going to dramatically reach under the table and smack the underside of the table.
Okay.
And a loud, piercing alarm is going to sound in the chamber.
Okay.
I'm casting Minor Illusion.
I like that.
And I'm going to shout out, within moments, the Calaman military will be upon you. I would suggest that you desist these hostilities. The full might of Calaman will soon be at this door.
I like that. You can go ahead and give me an intimidation check with advantage.
Oh, we discovered how to do this with advantage, didn't we, at some point in one of the other streams?
Yes, so you find your skill advantage, right-click on it.
Aha, yes. There we go. Roll. Good job, I had advantage.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Dirty 20 on a dirty 20. The creature standing in front of you seems to throw its eyes over to the creature engaged with Becklin and Quanti as a look of doubt kind of crosses its face. Not sure exactly what's going on there. Isbin is engaged
desperately trying to stay standing and still appear intimidating on her 1 hit point. You better listen.
You better listen. Absolutely.
Because I don't get another
go. This creature goes rushing after Miat, and I'm just going to roll his attacks quickly. Why was not rolling this when I was rolling against PCs? Why is it with NPCs they can't hit for jam?
NPCs are disposable. For God's sake, D&D Beyond.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't seem to get... Oh, my goodness. All right, Miat is knocked down and out for the count by this creature. Takes us to the top of the round. This creature is busy fighting against Becklin. Becklin is busy fighting back. I'm not going to roll those dice. And we then get to the undead creature. Now, the undead creature... I am going to ask you, Marjorie.
Hello.
Because you're almost the close. Well, again, it's pretty close to everyone, but I'm gonna try and it's going to look at you. You were the one shouting all these commands and orders and things, and so I need you to give me a wisdom saving throw.
I can definitely pretend to do those.
Okay.
Great. Awesome. Love that.
Wow.
For me.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I thought I could do wisdom. Turns out, nah.
You're busy holding your hand underneath the table, pressing the alarm bell. You've cast your spell, and then you suddenly start to feel your mind gently being... It's as if something is pulling up memories or thoughts or no, memories, specifically memories, and you can't really shut them down. It's very, very disconcerting. You're seeing flashes of every memory you have that seems to relate to exactly what this council has been talking about. Anything unusual, anything odd, anything for the past 5 years or so. And it's just slowly going through those memories. And as you're looking at that memory, it's like trying to remember a dream. The memory gets weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker until eventually suddenly you can't remember it anymore. So the report of the 2 bodies found in the bay you cannot now. You know something happened in the bay, and you're sure there was more than just one thing, which was the clawed sea elf. But you cannot, for the life of you, remember what it is. You get the distinct impression as you're sort of looking around, your eyes kind of refocus, the undead creature in the middle of the table. It's definitely the one that's looking straight into your eyes and is erasing this information from your head as fast as it possibly can. Meanwhile, where are we? Cudgel, seeing that you are in danger, not Cudgel, Cudgel is over there busy fighting their own thing. Shalantawin now moves around, and she comes out this way. She points her hand directly at the draconian creature behind you, and she just fires off this volley of it looks like 3 very, very perfect shaped darts which fly out from her hands, and they come sailing out towards this creature, dealing 14 points of damage to it. As they impact into it. It's sort of wounded, and its focus now changes.
Sorry, Guy. Did Chalantawin do like a cool dive under the table or a cool flip over it?
She's a 700-year-old elf. She moved as quickly as she could, got to the corner of the table, and then just fired the magic.
So she was on one side of the table and now she's on the other side, so I assumed she did something cool to get there.
No, but, she hobbled, unfortunately.
Her stunt double appeared and flipped over the table, and then she appeared back in shot.
You caught
their
their stunt doubles. Yes. She hobbled. Desperate to try and save you, though. So that's what she's done
for a while she was hobbling. Just like paused and just like, come on, get round.
Creature runs over to her and tries to attack her. Cudgel is engaged there. Over to you. This thing still is reading your mind, looking for things, and you get the distinct impression it is there to remove stuff. The longer it stays, the more you will forget.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna kind of grit my teeth and be like, get out of my head, and try and blast it backwards to break its line of sight, because that would be my assumption, was it whether it needs line of sight.
Oftentimes these are line of sight kind of spells. Yeah, absolutely. What are you casting?
I mean, I've got 2 things that I can. Warlocks have got 2 things they can do at level 1. It's an Eldritch Blast, mate.
Lovely. All right.
Oh no, that's damage. I can't do that yet. Let's roll to hit first.
Yes, and we'll ignore that damage. 16 is a definite hit.
Boom.
Definite
hit. Roll more than a 3.
I mean,
yeah, that's better.
Yes, definitely better. I don't know why it's taking so long on my side to come through. 9 points of damage. You deal 9 points of damage to this situation, this thing, and with the 9 points of damage, you get to make a Wisdom saving throw with advantage.
Excellent.
To try and cast it out of your mind.
I would love to. Whoop, whoop.
And that gives us a spectacular. Hey, that's a natural 20. We have a thing for that.
My memories all just come flooding back. I blasted him out so good. I got memories I didn't even have before. I got other people's memories. Everyone's memories. It's a big memory party in here.
So yes, you break the link and are broken. You are free of that, capable to think and act as you would normally. Kobe steps forward and tries to hit this creature as best he can, just desperate to do any kind of damage to it, and he does, and Kobe is
good lad.
is pretty skilled in fighting, so he does 4 points of damage to it, which is It's not amazing, but what do you do when you're a councilman? And that's all that you have access to. So that's what has happened there.
Sometimes when you
This
dump your
takes
strength and
us...
dexterity in forms of all of the face skills and wisdom.
Yeah. Does happen. Does happen. Right, so Ispin blasts this particular creature back 5 feet and then melts him into a puddle of goo. That was the wrong button.
He melted him so good.
He got him so
Everything
good he vanishes.
went black.
Yes.
Credits.
Oh, it's all gone black. Let me go back here while I fix that. So yes, that is what Ispin is doing. And that takes us through to the creatures. They are busy fighting. Now it's quite desperate what they're doing. However, it becomes apparent that they seem to be not fighting to slay, but fighting to delay.
So the two that have gone down are just unconscious. Or are they dead?
The people that have been knocked down?
Yes.
That may very well be the case. Because the Draconians, although they're hitting hard, and the one that hit you really, really, really hard.
I know I was there.
The way that they're fighting just doesn't seem to make sense, really. It seems very, very defensive.
Like they are waiting for backup, or like they
certainly seem to be waiting for something. I'm not sure exactly what's happening. Neither are you. When you look again, the creature that's on the table, it now seems to be focused very much on Kobe, as he's standing right there. And you can see that Kobe, who normally has a pretty dull countenance anyway, is slightly drooling. And there are faint, it looks like claws of ethereal magic wrapped around his skull, which are just slightly moving here and there. And you suspect that this undead creature is now trying to rid Kobe's mind of certain memories and things.
Quick question. Should I
Yes.
be able to see a map?
Yes. And you're
Cool.
not seeing a map.
I got an empty frame with some
Because-
very pretty background art coming through it.
Yes.
Like a little, like the outside of the window is all blurry, but I can see through a beautifully clear window. Hey, I
There we
can see
go.
a map again.
You can see a map. Sorry about that. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, so there you go. Yeah, that's what it's doing. Next up is you.
Right. I want to do something
Yes.
but I think rules as written, it takes far too long.
Might be. What are you trying to do?
I'd like to, if I can, kind of pull myself up onto the table and say,
Onto that
kind of-
table?
sorry?
Onto the table with the corpse?
Yeah, but don't move
Sure.
me until you tell me that I'm not allowed to do
Sure.
this. I'd like to pull myself up onto the table and kind of address everyone around me and just be like, I don't know what's going on here, but they seem to be delaying. I don't know if something's coming, but I think we should get away from the windows. I think that fight as hard as you can. We need to get rid of this threat. Keep yourselves safe. And what I want to do is use
Yes.
my inspiring leader feat.
Sure. Absolutely.
Which
Why
rules
not?
as written takes 10 minutes, but I don't think I've got 10 minutes in combat to sit up and make a speech.
No, and I don't think anyone
But I
would
also
listen
don't
to a
think
speech for
anyone
10 minutes.
has.
No, I think that's a ridiculous idea. I think that was a pretty good speech. So what I'm going to say is go ahead and give me either a performance or a persuasion roll to do it in quick time, basically.
Performance or persuasion?
Yes, your choice.
I will do persuasion.
Lovely. And that's perfect. What is the result of your inspiring leadership?
I can choose 6 allies, including myself, and I will definitely include myself.
Yes.
And I will also, I guess, how many of us is there? There's the 3, and then there's so apart from the 2 that are down, there is and Miat who's disappeared off the other end. There is 6 close to me, aren't there? Including me.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Cudgel
6.
and Ispin and Becklin and Kobe and
Shalantawin. Yes.
Yeah. So we are all going to gain 4 temporary hit points.
Ooh, that's great. That's very nice.
It is for my 1 hit point mind. Yes.
Absolutely. All right. Have you added it to your character sheet?
I'm just remembering how to do it.
Aha. All right. Well,
yes,
with that,
I am doing it. Yes.
You bring about this state of being. The battle is continuing. Ispin now rushes over here to try and save Shalantawin, who's being attacked by 2 of these creatures that are flanking her, as a matter of fact, fighting from either side. Cudgel is still engaged with their creature. Becklin is engaged with their creature. And that just then brings us to the creature that's standing right next to you, or is slouched next to you. It looks at you now that it's sort of done with Kobe. Kobe is standing there. Your speech must have helped him in some way, because those claws are no longer affixed to his head. The creature now looks at you and says, "Why resist? Your end is inevitable."
I resist because I am an elected official of this city and shall not be subjugated by anyone.
We shall.
Especially not someone with a terrible skin complaint, apparently.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, this undead creature, it raises its manky hand, and at first you think it's going to try and claw you or strike at you, perhaps, but instead it moves its fingers in a very intricate little way. If you like, you can give me an Arcana check to know what it is currently going to throw at you.
Would love to. I thought it was going to put its hand up to shield its eyes from my sick burn.
Oh, well, no. In its soul, it's dying. It's dying deep down. Yeah.
I'll have an unnatty 20.
An unnatural 20. It's about to cast Charm Person on you. And that means you get to make a wisdom saving throw. Your favorite.
Yay! Well, I've had one terrible one and one good one, so... one excellent one, so we'll see how this goes. I love rolling 11s, me.
Okay, 15 is exactly what you... It's actually more than what you needed, by a significant way.
Whoop, whoop.
The urge to become this thing's ally never even materializes in your head. You know exactly what it's casting. No, you don't. And so its spell fails, causing it to grimace and to not be particularly happy with life. Meanwhile, the battle continues to rage on this end of the spectrum with Cudgel and Becklin. They seem to have pushed their 2 creatures back with a big flurry of attacks and blows, and are making some quite good ground. Back to you, Marjorie.
I'm going to say, oh, that seemed difficult. Wouldn't it be so much easier if we were allies in this fight, not enemies? And I'm going to cast Charm Person on it. Actually, can you on undead? This attempt to charm a humanoid you can see within range. Probably can't do it on undead.
I'm gonna. You as the player can make that decision, or you can have an Arcana check.
I'll have an Arcana check, guy.
Yeah. How well did Marjorie read her books?
She read them damn well. She has a studious nature.
Absolutely, and her studious nature. Yes, if it's undead, it's immune to charm. There is no grey matter in there to charm. It's all just animated by something.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. It's funny. It seemed to think it could be my friend. It was going to be a very one-sided relationship.
It really was, yeah.
That just doesn't seem fair.
Does seem odd, doesn't it?
All right. In that case, I'm going to place a hex on it.
All right. And what does this hex do?
I'm going to place a curse on it. And until the spell ends, I deal an extra 1d6 necrotic damage whenever I hit it with an attack. And I get to choose an ability to give it disadvantage on.
Nice.
And I don't really know what to do because it's not a saving throw and it's not a spell attack. It has to be an ability check. I'm not sure what ability checks it's making. I guess I'll go strength in case it tries to grab or grapple or climb or jump somewhere.
Yeah, I like that. I like that indeed. Ispin has dealt with this one. He's cut it down and he has sort of stepped over to here. He's bleeding quite badly.
Oh, by the way, that's a bonus action.
Oh, is that a bonus action? My apologies.
Sorry, that was my bad.
You just hexed. Now what are you doing?
Now I will. Is it within? Oh, sorry, I'm a character sheet. If I move away, I'm going to provoke an opportunity attack. So.
Yes. Oh, this damn view has gone again. Yes, keep
going.
It
has indeed. Can I? Because I assume Kobe's unarmed.
Yes, he is.
Can I give Kobe a dagger?
Yeah, absolutely. You can toss him over a dagger.
Because he's just next to me, isn't he? So I'll do that. I don't know whether she's got one strapped to a boot or on a ceremonial thing around her waist, but yeah, I think that I'll give him a weapon.
Lovely. Okay, that's your movement, and you still have an action.
I still have an action. Damn. In that case, I can't cast a cantrip, can I? If I cast a spell as a bonus action.
Correct.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what good an unarmed attack from Marjorie does.
1.
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Less than 1?
Less than 1.
Wow.
Can I attempt to push it off the table?
Yes, you can. It would be athletics.
It won't do any damage, but
yes,
I can at least try and get it away from Kobe.
Sure.
And maybe pushing it off the table would unbalance it slightly.
Knock it prone. Why not?
Knock it prone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okie dokes.
I mean, obviously I've got great athletics, but maybe it worked for Jeremy.
It
worked for Jeremy. That's full stop.
Admittedly, he did have a flying lizard helping him, and that extra 15 ounces or 5 ounces or 1 ounce of weight probably tipped the balance. You just don't have one of those here, you see.
Yeah. And he has gusto. He probably just launched forward by sheer pluck and gusto.
Absolutely. Whereas your very decided push, it just pushed back. To a net result of nothing, unfortunately. Behind you, Ispin has dispatched this creature, and he has now moved around to try to take out this one over here. Kobe has your dagger.
Which one over where?
Here. This one has now
there's
gone
no map
down. Oh, you don't have a map yet. I apologize. And the map's not going to work because I am grabbing that. I should just change this to a screen grab, but not in the middle of the stream. So yes, it's been moved from here. He has moved 10 feet down to there, where he's now engaged with that creature. and is fighting it. It is now fighting for its life as well. So it's going to move 5 feet to the side, make its attacks, and all of the wonderful things that go with that. Over here, this creature it dashes, tries to dash anyway. Becklin is going to swing her longsword at it. Great sword.
Go on, Becklin.
She hits.
Way.
And cuts it in half. So half of it leaves. The other half just drops to the floor in a wet, squelching kind of sound. This one is going to do the same thing. It tries to leap out of the window and disappear outside, which you should be able to see, as a matter of fact. Dawn is now breaking in through the windows, throwing up long shafts of rosy yellow light, banishing away the dark purple cloak of night. And so it leaps. Cudgel gets to make a attack, which she desperately tries to pull off. She does. I don't think, though, she's going to cut anyone in half with 4 damage. Nope. So this one breaks out of the window. And from your position, you can see as it launches out the window, these great big leathery wings open up and it just starts to fly up and out into the air.
I mean, to be honest, that's probably for the best, because if we had a half and a half, then that might just make a hole and someone else is going to get another hit in.
Yeah, exactly.
Add it to the initiative order and it'll just be weird and gross.
Yeah. The creature on the table with you. This is a battle of the wills, it seems. So
it's certainly not a battle of strength.
No, it isn't. You're pretty good at that. It twists its undead neck, and you can see as it does bits of ooze kind of makes its way out of its body. Wow. You also get a distinct impression that deep inside of it, when it opens its mouth to talk, there's this faint purplish glow, very slowly emanating from within its core, as if it swallowed an LED light in its throat. And so, yeah, you see all of its spells. Its spells are all very, 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 very wrong at the moment, for what it can do. And so it's going to do anything it can do. And it's going to just attack you. It swings out with its attack towards you. And that's a 19 to hit.
That's unfortunate.
Hang on, it's hexed, right?
It is hexed.
Oh, but this is a... and the hex was for ability, not attack.
It's not a strength ability check, is it? No.
No. Okay. All right. So you get hit there, and
I can only assume I'm fine, because according to my character sheet, an unarmed strike does no damage. So I assume I'm completely safe.
Yeah. If only that were the case.
Blanket across the board. So
across the board, absolutely. So it is lashing out with its fist towards you. And it deals a grand total of 2 points of damage. Yeah.
Alrighty then.
That's what it's doing.
Alright.
Yeah. And then it's going to step off the table away from you, because it's reading the room as to what's going on. Kobe then steps
forward. Opportunity attack, right?
Yes, you do. You get an attack of opportunity. Yes, correct. You
Lovely.
Get to backhand it.
Don't you get away from me. Try and blast it. Does Kobe also get one?
Yes. What weapon do you have?
I gave him a dag. Oh, can I you can do an opportunity attack with a cantrip, can't you? Or does it have to be a melee attack?
I think it's only a melee attack. Am I wrong? Could be wrong. Chat, can we do a opportunity attack with a cantrip? I don't think so. Yep.
I know you can't.
Saying has to be melee.
Ah, dang it. Well,
Thanks,
fine. Let's give it a go. Then I've only got a dagger.
You swipe at it, It
I'd much
slips.
rather my Eldritch Blast roll, if I'm honest.
Yes, absolutely. You swipe at it. It slips underneath your blade and makes it as far as that. But I will allow you to roll again. Roll another d20 for me and add 4. Yeah, for Kobe. Because the creature is desperately trying to make it to a window. Kobe swipes at it.
Nope.
And he's even worse. But that's because he's currently
7.
drooling all over himself. And this creature makes it to the window. And let's just make sure it can break through that window. There's a dull thunk as it slams into the glass, which apparently was easier to break from the outside than from the inside. Cudgel has rushed over to examine what is going on there, which means you're up, Marjorie. What are you doing?
Is that...
It should have had disadvantage.
Yeah, Becklin's still there. Hex. Can I say... Did they say their names? Does Marjorie know their names?
Yes, she does.
Okay. Mistress Becklin, don't let it get away. And then she's going to try and blast it, but hopefully get Becklin's attention that if she misses, Becklin will have a turn before it does.
Okay.
So let's go. See if I can blast it. What is... Oh, okay. I thought I'd rolled a 1 because my dice has gone underneath.
Oh, really?
My little thing that has, so I can only see the 1 part of the... I couldn't see it as a 7. So that's a 12 to hit.
Yeah. It's desperate now to get out. Much more so than it was before, I guess. It seemed quite content to stay before. Now it's desperate to get out. And I'm just going to bring back this map. I don't know what is going on with Dungeon Fog.
Well, it's obviously terrified of my...
Oh, absolutely.
Of my fierce shoves, my pointy daggers, and my blasts of force that are doing a whole bunch to it.
Just killing it.
Yep. It's probably frightened for its life. Its unlife.
Yes. It was rooting for the bad guys, right? And they're almost no longer there. So that is what you tried to do. Are you doing anything else?
I'll go towards it. Might as well.
Sure. Your full movement, because it's only 25 feet away from you.
Yeah.
You go rushing forward.
Actually, can I stay 5 feet away from it?
Sure.
So it can't just swipe me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can still blast it.
You can indeed. Ispin is up next, and Ispin dispatches this creature and sort of steps over it. Shalantawin steps around Kobe, shuffles, hobbles. She shouts to you, "What would you have me do with the creature, child?"
I think we should immobilize it. If they're all going to escape, we'll know nothing. And I hate going into things blind.
She raises her hand. The spell she weaves, it's pretty powerful. It's a variant of Hold Person, except that you don't think it's Hold Person. You think it's like Hold Monster or something quite ridiculous up there. The creature has to make a Wisdom saving throw.
Marjorie makes a mental note because a teacher's done something.
Yes, this is true. What was your hex? Did it have anything to do with saving throws?
No, it's extra damage from me and it disadvantage on strength ability checks.
Strength. All right. Well, it shrugs off whatever spell Shalantawin was casting. Doesn't seem to care about that at all. That takes us to the top of the round. They're dead. Becklin's up next. She looks a little bit concerned and says, "I have nothing. Oh," and she just charges forward past you, Marjorie, and tries to tackle this creature to the ground.
Good.
So she leaps forward.
That's what I wanted.
And... Oh! Gets a natural 1.
Oh, God, Becklin! I was relying on you, girl.
She skids past, completely misses the creature, and bangs into the wall.
It's gonna
Unfortunately, it is the creature's turn. It turns and it looks at you, Marjorie, and it hisses, "Soon, soon." And then it dramatically tries to smash through the window.
Natural one,
which
natural one.
it does, unfortunately. It smashes through the window, gets to the edge of the ledge that surrounds this entire structure, and way below it, some 120 odd feet, is the city of Calaman, and it just launches itself off the edge. And its leathery remains of its wings, there's no skin left. It's just these stumps and stalks. Try to move very briefly, but it's not enough to keep it airborne, and it just plunges down into the streets below. That's what it's doing. Cudgel rushes. Cudgel steps out onto the parapet edge and then makes a very high-pitched gulping sound and steps back in again.
It's very high up here, and that's very far down there. It's dead. Deadish. I mean, more... It's re-dead. Whatever. I'm not a mage. Leave me alone. That's what she says. Marjorie, you're up next.
Can we get a message to someone on the ground?
Are you asking this of the GM, or are you asking it of the people in the room with
I'm
you?
asking it of the people around me, who I assume would know the answer.
Oh, Aquanti, who appears to have been slightly restored. She's looking quite beaten up. Yes, I will go. What is the message?
We need to retrieve that body. If it is indeed a body. If it is retrievable, we need to bring it back here.
I shall make sure it is done, she says. And she dashes out the room. Are you doing anything else?
Is it just the one that's by Cudgel that's... No, is the one by Cudgel gone?
The one that... Sorry, yes, it has flown off. It flew off. My apologies.
Is there anything left? Are we out?
There is no one left, no.
Are we out of initiative, or?
Yes. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You are now out of initiative, absolutely. There is a moment where everyone kind of takes a breath as they realize that this is now done and dusted.
Before she does anything, Marjorie goes over to where her bag is, which I guess is sort of near where she sat down, kind of whereabouts Miat is at the moment, didn't she, when she came in? So her bag's around there.
Yes.
And she takes out her notebook and makes a note about both the hold monster spell and about how she adds the thing that insulted her to her list. I'm going to say she keeps a list.
Oh, she has a list. All right. So
Probably.
Everyone sort of starts gathering around.
Probably.
Becklin has immediately rushed to Miat to see if she can help. And as everyone is sort of rushing around, Jalan returns with several of the palace guard with him. Not the palace guard, the fortress guard with him. Of course, it's too late. There's no one left to battle. Thankfully, Miat also seems to recover from the attack under the administrations of Becklin. And there is a moment where everyone's not entirely sure what to do. Are you suggesting anything? Are you doing anything? You making your notes?
I look at Governor Miat and say, I'm glad you're not dead, sir.
So am I very glad that I am not dead. Thank you, Elderwoman. Okay, people. Explain yourself, he says as he turns on Ispin. And Ispin raises up his hands. Don't look at me. I certainly didn't know it could do that. I wouldn't have brought it in if I had. Shalantawin, what the hell was that thing doing? The old elf looks directly at you, Marjorie.
It doesn't want to be noticed, doesn't want to be remembered. It's working in secret. So, secrecy of some kind is important to it. Kobe, what do you remember?
About what exactly?
Can you please tell us what happened at the start of this meeting today?
Oh, well, to be perfectly honest with you, isn't this your dagger? What the hell am I doing with your dagger?
Could you please tell me what Councillor Swift was informing us of earlier on today? I ignore his question.
Swifty? Probably something to do with price of ink and paper or some geological thing. I can't really remember.
I look at Shalantawin and go, right.
Excuse me.
There you go.
Why would the creature attempt to hide its presence here? It must have been
I was going to say the far more pressing issue is how can we be sure that the creature has not visited one or other of us previously, and we have no memory of it.
That causes everybody to go very quiet and contemplate that.
Marjorie is going to look in her notebook. She notes everything down.
Right.
So if she'd have seen something and then forgotten about it, it would obviously that's not going to work for everybody else.
Right.
But she wants to make sure that she hasn't come into contact with it before because she would have written it down.
Absolutely. Well, you think, depending on how much was erased, how much she would have written down.
I suppose it depends whether she made a note before anything happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is tricky. You have a lot of notebooks to start going through on that case, but immediately your eye catches the fact that you made a note that there was a report of 2 of these other bodies being found in the bay. Only you don't remember that report, or reading that report, or getting that report. But you did make a note that you told the council about this report. So you know that that memory is gone, but you suspect that may have happened in this current attack.
Got it. Mr. Slanthuin, is there anything that we can do to protect our minds from external sabotage? It seems that that's going to be a rather pressing issue of protection.
Indeed.
I don't know what its business is with this council, but it appears that it seemed to try and take the memories of both myself and Councillor Kobe and not any of our warriors here, which makes me think that it's council business that it needs, or at least doesn't want us to have.
Ispin sort of nods. I think you're onto something there, elder woman. If this creature is similar to the ones that have been washing up in your fishermen's nets. You recall earlier you mentioned something along those lines.
Unfortunately, I don't. However, I know your words to be true, because I've a note of it here in my diary. However, I could not possibly say the particulars of this.
You also postulated that perhaps these creatures have been infiltrating Calaman for some time, erasing information. It's impossible for us to know what information, but we certainly have a starting point. The coast that Elderwoman Swift pointed out. Quelmish, I think she said. Becklin Cudgel and I will go and investigate Quelmish. I suggest you continue to go about your business and see what you can do to identify more of these infiltrators. They shouldn't be too hard to spot. They
do stand out, rather.
Indeed. With that, Ispin kind of nods at Shalantawin, and he, Becklin, and Cudgel all leave, unless you have any specific questions for them.
I look at Ispin and say, "You're a well-travelled individual. I don't suppose you know Mr. Thornett?"
He looks at you. I know of a Mr. Thornett. I have never met a Mr. Thornett. Should I have?
Oh, no. I was merely wondering whether we had any mutual acquaintances. I know that he's a great traveller around the continent, and merely wondered whether your paths had crossed. It is of no consequence.
He gives you all a nod and then leaves. Miat, who's been recuperating in a chair, there has been much excitement here, and the guards are no doubt securing the area. Madam Shalantawin, we would welcome any kind of protection you might offer us in terms of our mines or in terms of this, whatever this is. We don't even know who these creatures, where they come from. So it seems difficult for us to even attempt to figure out any course of action to move forward. I propose this council is dissolved for today, and we will reconvene tomorrow once everyone has had an opportunity to rest and recover. Perhaps speak to anyone in your influence to see if there have been other incidences of these kinds of happenings, although I would suspect they would be reported if they had been the case. I will also summon back the marshal of our forces. No doubt she will have some input onto improving security within our facilities and our people.
I shall send word immediately to my deputies along the wider parts of the bay to see if any unusual activity is yet to be reported. That's not too much information that we can gather.
Agreed. The last question that remains is, if your fishermen find more of these walking corpses, or these corpses anyway, what do you feel is best that they should do about them or to them?
Where is the most... I would say that we need to find somewhere that is secure and relatively secret. We don't want to cause a panic amongst the populace.
I agree. I will speak with the marshal, and I will see what Nestra says. Most likely, I would suggest we set up somewhere outside of Calaman, somewhere safer, where there is no risk of contamination amongst the people. If the dead prudent. Can rise, it is problematic.
Indeed, I would say yes. Even if the things seem like they are truly dead, half dead, in pieces, decapitated, whatever. Put them all in the same pit and see what happens.
Elderwoman Thornett, I would make a proposal for you to consider so that we might ratify it at our next meeting. I would suggest that you abandon your seat as head of fishers and instead head up a special, call it investigative body looking into this incident and these creatures. If they are from somewhere, then we may be able to negotiate with them to discover their true intention or their purpose. If it is malicious, we would need to know so that the Marshal Nestra can form an adequate defense against them. Would you be interested in such a position?
Provided that my important daily duties are covered and otherwise taken care by some competent individual, I would gladly take on this responsibility, Governor.
Oh, absolutely. It would only be temporary until such time as we have established a dialogue with these creatures or we have identified them as a chance meeting, perhaps, or a transient encounter which does not last for very long. In which case, then I will propose it at the next meeting, and I'm sure it will be ratified. You may choose whomever.
Myself more than capable.
As do I. You certainly seem to handle yourself in the battle as much as Mr. Kobe provided a wall of defense. There was not much action on his side. You certainly seem to be doing all sorts of things. You're far more competent than the rest of us when it comes to these kinds of matters, except perhaps for the Marshal Nestra, who's trained as a military individual. But this is not yet a military action, I feel. This is investigation and discovery of what is going on precisely. So that is what will be done. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Shalantuin. I leave your apprentice here in your good hands. And the council all leave quite hurriedly, unless you have anything to say to them.
No, they've all been largely useless.
All right, they all leave, leaving just you, Shalantuin, and 40 very concerned-looking Calaman security forces. Shalantuin looks at you and she says, "You were very observant today. You noticed things others failed to, and you certainly have impressed the council. Your new position heading up this investigative unit certainly seems to give you more elevation than you would have if you were merely a mage of the high sorcery, Would you still want to continue your trials?"
I make it my business to be observant. It's part of my job. My elevation, as you put it, and as the governor put it, is temporary. And I'm looking for further job security, let's say, and don't see any point in cutting off an avenue of advancement in other fields when this investigation will certainly not last forever.
An optimist as well as someone who plans for the future.
A realist, I would say.
Oh, perhaps.
I deal in practicalities in my day-to-day.
Magic sometimes is not so predictable. It is prone to failure from time to time. Are you prepared for failure?
I would say that that is even more of a case for being prepared for any kind of eventuality. What else is being part of a governing body about than preparing for any eventuality?
That's an interesting position to adopt.
After your display here today, I feel that we do not need to journey on to complete your trial. Your actions were certainly interesting as a user of magic. You understood what was going on around you. You allowed those to fight the battles that you knew were capable of fighting them. I was impressed that you took on that undead creature in a battle of wits, by the looks of things, where clearly you came off as the victor. Do you feel that to be true?
The creature got away. And that will hang heavy on me. As far as we know. It was already dead when it came into the room. I don't think that we should take that as something that is take it as read.
Indeed.
In fact, as far as we know, it did far more damage dead than it did alive.
Yes, very astute. Although perhaps a bit anticipatory, I'm not sure. This is a very, very interesting situation we find ourselves in. Nonetheless, I am prepared to inform the mages at the tower that I am granting you a pass on your trials. For your actions here today speak louder than your final trial would have challenged you to accomplish anyway. You showed dedication to the cause, although there is some part of me that seems to feel that it is to the cause that you are dedicated, not necessarily the people. Am I wrong?
I think that you are welcome to make your own judgments. It is customary and only prudent for me to stay 5 steps ahead, if I possibly can, in this position that I'm in. And I feel like my actions did the best to get the situation under control. Other people would have handled any other complications to the best of their ability. I can only do what I can do with mine.
Very true. In which case, I will grant you the red robe for your actions. Use your position and your knowledge for the advancement of the people, or at least of knowledge and society, as I'm sure you will do. Do you accept this judgment?
That I'm sure I can do. Does this exempt me from the written part of the exams also?
Marjorie, you and I both know that you are far above the rest of your peers when it comes to the written work.
Well, this is true.
You have always filed meticulous reports, and your research is always thorough. I do not think we need to continue with that. The council may decide
save myself
otherwise.
the price of a stamp, then.
Practical as ever. As ever, she says. And so we leave Marjorie to head up her investigation division, which for the next year turns up some rather grim and dark information, which we'll learn about next week when we return with the full team to play through the very first adventure. So big thank
shenanigans.
For shenanigans, for who knows what. Anyway, a very big thank you to you, Lou, for playing today.
Thanks.
I hope it was challenging, and I hope you had some fun.
I did. Yes, I did. It was good. It was. I think Marjorie has about 4 times the confidence that I have, so that's nice to kind of just push her out there.
There we go. Absolutely. Quite a political turn of events as we met Marjorie and what Marjorie is all about. So next week, we smoosh these all together and see what happens. As you say, shenanigans is bound to follow.
Anyway, folks, don't forget to go and vote on discord.gg/greatgm for the caption for the illustration from last week. I'll be posting up the image shortly, straight after the stream, as a matter of fact. So go and caption that. And something from this week will be translated into an image for next week's vote.
Something incredibly exciting about a meeting.
Yes, about a meeting.
Last week we had hag flirting. This week we had a big meeting.
Yeah. Now that I look at it like that, it's like, yeah, it's a meeting. But we learn things. We learned things last week as well. Things about certain human rogue / mage impersonators. Maybe we didn't want to learn. Anyway, yes. Lou, where can people find you?
As well as obviously at Nord Games and at Of Dice and Them on Twitter and Instagram for the upcoming podcast. You can find me personally at I am Lou Fryer on Twitter and Instagram.
There we go. And a huge thanks to Laura Bones in chat, who was our moderator. Finally, I did the right thing. I made her a moderator so you can see all of her great chat and the links that she's posted up there in chat for you to follow Lou on. Thank you. And big thanks to all of you. We'll see you next week. Join me for the live show on Tuesday, which is a half-hour live audio cast only. And otherwise, we'll see you next week, Thursday. Until then, happy gaming. Goodbye.
See ya.